leadership students, I wanted to address real quick, while you're learning about leading the drills in class and learning how to lead a class period, one thing we talk a lot about is learning how to pump them up and give them challenges. So this specific video is going to be only about learning how to give challenges. And there's a few different ways I've got that I try to utilize during class, just depending on, and I don't do the same thing every time. I like to kind of mix it up, and sometimes I do group challenges, sometimes do individual challenges, sometimes I just make it a challenge amongst from me to them kind of thing. So let's talk about a few of those different things. One thing you can do is do it as an individual challenge, okay? So you make everybody in the class draw their attention to one individual who's doing it really well. Okay, little Sally Sue over here, nobody can bend their front knee as good as Sally Sue. She looks sharp today, man. Way to go, Sally. And now all of a sudden everybody else in class is boom. Now their knees bent even a little bit more because they want to be just as good as Sally Sue and get a high five or recognition like that, just like she did, okay? So that's one way to do it. Do it individual thing. It could be little Billy Bob over here, he's got black belt focus today, man. I'm walking around the class and he is not watching me walk around. He's focused straight ahead on that target or straight ahead on where he's supposed to be looking, and that is awesome. Billy Bob, way to go. Black belt focus right there. Okay, could be something like that. Could be you notice that one student's doing so darn well and you want to give them chances to be recognized, okay? So a few chances per class, and they're doing really good on this drill, and little Sally Sue had good front stances. You bring her up to the front of the class, that way she gets to do her front stances in front of everybody. They're still doing the drill same time she is, or with her and all that, but she's in front of everybody, so they get to see her stances and use her as the demonstrator and someone that they need to look just as good at. And 30 seconds later, then that's awesome. Thank you, Sally Sue. Come over here. Now let's see, Billy Bob's up here too, so let's get Billy Bob up here and let him show off how good his stances are looking now, okay? Make it something like that where you're giving individual praise, and that challenges the whole group as a collective to try to be just as sharp as that person. You gotta make a big deal about it though. You can't just say, that's a good stance, and then keep walking on. You can, I have little moments like that in class where I don't really draw a lot of attention to something, but if you wanted to make this a challenge, and you want to show, and you want to get the rest of the class into it, then you need to, then that needs to be a bigger moment than, yeah, that's good. You need to point it out to other people, and you need to make them strive harder for you, okay? There's times where you're doing this really well, and you're leading the drill, and you get that feeling, and you get that going, and you work that well with that class, and all of a sudden, all of them are just like breathing fire. And you got all 10, or however many kids, and even adults it works well for, just in a different level, but that recognition and that pointing that out, saying, let's see if we can make it look like this right here, that makes people try harder for you, and that's what I want. I don't want a 50-minute class where people are coming here and just because they got to be here and they're just going through the motions. I want them to give me everything they got for the entire time they're here, from the moment they get on the mat and we start class to the moment they leave, and I want them sweating and breathing hard by the end of class. That's my goal. Okay, so you can help that out, but you got to keep them pumped up and interested the whole time, whatever it is you're doing during that drill. Another way you can do it is do a group challenge. So it could be, I've done this in class before too. I say, you know, we got equal amounts here of boys and girls, so I say, the boys, they don't like to talk very much, so they're not really loud. They don't like to yell real loud. So the girls, we all know the girls are louder and they love to talk. And so the girls are always going to be louder than the boys, right? The boys are like, no, sir! And now all of a sudden I got all of them. All those kids, the boys and the girls go, on every move. And oh my goodness, it just pumps the room up. The whole level of energy just went up. Okay, you can make it a contest, boys versus girls. You can stay in the front row. Maybe that's your shorter students right there versus the back row, your tall kids. Oh, the short and stinkies, they're not going to do good front stances today. The tall and uglies, they're going to, awesome, they got great front stances, okay? And then you make it a competition between rows or between belt colors if you got different belt groups in class. So find a way to make it still fun. It doesn't always have to be individual, one-on-one, or one versus the whole class. It could be groups. And that's how they start working as a team then together. Oh man, come on man, everybody else on your team's got in their front knee bend yours more. There you go. Now that whole yellow belt row looks super awesome. Thank you. Okay, and now they learn how a little bit about teamwork during that. Okay, but anyway, the point is you got to keep them pumped up. You find a challenge for them. The last way to do it is where I give them extra challenges. So we didn't really cover this in depth when we talked about pumping them up and all that when you're leading a drill, but I knew I was going to have this separate video, so I want to talk about it here. Another way, if you're leading a drill and let's say it's jab cross, you want the class to get that down, okay? They're going to get it down with repetition. They've got to have repetition. That's how anybody gets these muscle movements down, is by doing it a lot of times, okay? But nobody wants to do it the same way 1,000 times. I got no problem doing 10 of these, and then you switch it up and say, now do it with a duck, and you come up, bam, bam. Okay, that's another way, and you make me do 5 or 10 of those. Okay, that's kind of cool, then you added just something different to it. Okay, now you've got to run from the back of the class here, and you're going to jump over this imaginary river. You give them a target or a shield or something on the floor there. You jump and land in your fighting stance, boom, boom, and then you do your jab cross. Okay, so then you just gave me another variation of it. We worked on that duck. That's cool, but what if you need to get even lower than that? What if you need to move while you're ducking? So let's make it a roll. Someone's swinging at you here, you roll underneath that bad guy, you get up and you hit his bad guy friend, boom, boom, and then you turn and you're looking at him now. Okay, so I'm still working on the jab cross and the basics of it. Once they've done it one way, I'm not going to start with the rolls and the jumps and all the other stuff here right at the very beginning of it. I want to work and make sure they're developing the habit, so I'm going to break it down to its individual levels. Just the jab first for a couple times, just the backhand reverse punch, the cross for a couple of times. Make sure they're getting their hips into it like I want them to do. Okay, then once they're doing that, let's put it together. That's the third variation of it right there. Okay, now they're doing that, so let's add a duck to it. That's variation number 4. And I can make them run through a bunch of different repetitions of that same drill in 3 minutes, 4 minutes, without slowing down the class, without making them feel like, oh my goodness, I've been doing this 1,000 minutes, oh, this is killing me. All right, and I can find ways to do that. Maybe it's as simple as you want them to do this, and then you want them to hop chain, boom, boom, and do it on the other side. So you want them to show both times whenever you say go. And it doesn't mean it has to be a bag drill where they're all running up in lines and all that. And that's fun to do. That there's a certain energy to bag drills too. But I kind of prefer, for me, I prefer as many drills as I can to be by my count, because it looks a little bit more organized, and I can kind of pump people up in between my counts a little bit, and I can, just the words I'm saying, and I can make sure I'm keeping the energy high in between the counts instead of just let them run like crazy children. Kick, back in line, kick, back in line, because then it loses a lot of its focus and a lot of its clarity of the move, okay? I find a lot of people just run up to the front and back and then they go back to the back. They're not really focused on here. But the more I can make them do it by my count, number 1, the more repetitions the whole class gets. And number 2, I can be watching for the technique on things, not let them doing this and this. So those are some things I like to do. Individuals, point one of them out, say, great knee bends, great focus, whatever it is, fast kicks, super good, shaping their foot for that side kick, whatever it is. Or bring them up to the front of the class and let them be the demonstrators and show off or something. Have the whole class sit down and just watch Sally Sue do that side kick, whatever, okay? And then that's awesome. Everybody points your finger and say, way to go, or something. Then we stand up and we're all practicing the side kick again. Don't let it take too much time out of your class. Or do groups, boys versus girls, back row versus front row, old people versus young people, whatever you got, different belt colors and all that stuff. Make it fun, make it a group type thing. Or you give them challenges. Okay, so now it's going to be I have to run and jump over the river and then land and do my technique and then run to the end of the line or whatever. When I say go, you take 2 steps forward, boom, 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 do your jab cross, and then 2 steps back to get away from that bad guy. Okay, so that doesn't mean it doesn't all have to be a line drill type thing and mentality, but try to find a way to keep them focused and organized looking and sharp during that part, while you're also working to pump them up and give them those challenges. So that's the big part of giving challenges we need to do. Is the whole underlying message to it is that we got to find a way to keep their energy up and keep them pumped up and interested in it, to where they're having fun and they want to keep doing more for you, and they want to come back the next class and do that again because it was so much fun. That's what we're looking for.